Want to say good morning to you. Super late edition of Wncr-Tv Now. As we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. Not a lot to talk about today, obviously. That's why I'm super late, but also I'm super late because I was watching the very interesting conversation in regards to what is going on with the Nash County GOP there. And so I was watching and hearing the individual talk about that. And so, yeah, that's an interesting situation as to how all of that unfolded. Of course, we talked about it. When did we talk about it? We talked about it some said day. Look at that, because this is blue. And I always say, oh, don't wear blue on TV. Here I am wearing blue on television this morning as well. Let me see here. So what I need to do is get the background changed. So let me do this. I'm gonna go back to our regular background. How about that? Hold on. Well, not our regular background, but our non-chroma keyed background. So just the blue wall. How about that? So we go from the blue sky, blue building thing to a regular blue wall. So now I don't look all blending into the wall type situation. Almost like what is the thing called? What Morpheus was on it? The Matrix. There it is. Like I'm going to the Matrix. I got to hit Facebook Live there. But good morning to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now. Super late edition, probably super short edition too. So we'll keep it probably until 9 a.m. And so we'll have about a good 36 minutes or so, 37 minutes or so with the program, where we will talk about a few things going on in Eastern North Carolina. I know that the North Carolina legislative body is set to meet today. I believe I saw that. Let me double check that, ncledge.gov. I was looking at a couple of the actions that they took on the other day. Let's look at the calendar for the House, if I'm not mistaken. No, they are, well, bills eligible to be filed, redistricting for, redistricting bills for House, Senate, Congress, and local entities. And so that's interesting because, generally you do a redistricting after the census. The census happens, they redraw the lines. It seems like if there is a bill filed to redraw some things, we have been drawing lines for the last how many ever years, and something is nefarious with that. Ratification of it. So this says bills eligible to be filed in 2025 with no deadline as redistricting bills for the House, Senate, Congress, or local entities. And that's saying they're doing in these things. They're saying this just giving a notice there about the crossover deadline is May the 8th. Ratification of amendments to the Constitution of the United States. Bills providing for action or gubernatorial nominations or appointments, appointments rather by the General Assembly, adjournment resolutions, and bills introduced on the report of House committees on appropriations, finance, and rules. So that was just set there for today. So just remind them of that. So it looks I don't think they're in session today. I don't know what I saw. While it says House convenes at 11 a.m., I don't see they have anything on the actual calendar. Now, meanwhile, the Senate is meeting. That's maybe who I looked at today. So the Senate is meeting today, and it'll be the third reading of the Appropriation Act. This is them to pass their budget. So it looks like the Senate is on track to pass their budget that they released on Monday, late Monday or Tuesday. Another bill is confirm Mickey Wooten to the Secretary of Revenue, and then it's to confirm Lee Liley as Secretary of Commerce. And they have a couple of committee meetings today. Pharmaceutical or pharmacist collaboration practice, regular relief for hospitals and disaster areas, and modify the law applicable to LME and MCOs. And they reminding people of the crossover deadline too of May the 8th. About those bills. So that is who's in session today. And while they'll call the House to session, they won't really do anything. It's the House convenes at 11 a.m., but they don't have any items that they'll be voting on today. But again, the Senate is over there working, and so they have the Appropriation Act and the confirmation of two individuals. Again, the Secretary of Revenue, and the Secretary of Commerce for North Carolina. And then the House will do what they do with the budget, and we will see what we ultimately argue about for a long time, not argue about at all. I don't know. This is going to be a different budget process, and that there's no supermajority with the House, and so the governor's veto could stand, and so it does give Democrats some room there for negotiation. Not a lot, but definitely some. But I think the party is going to try to work to get that even more, where there is no maybe House majority at all. And so that's going to be some of the actions that House members are taking. So I think if I was a House member of North Carolina, I would be very conscious as to what my district kind of looks like. And just because I may have an influx of Republicans, and I think there's no way the Democrats could come and win, you also got to be mindful that Republicans who can dislike each other too and say, well, you know what, they deserve to be home, and might ultimately decide either not to vote in that race at all. So they say, I can't vote for a Democrat, but I'm not voting for a Republican either, so I'm just going to leave it blank. And that's just as the same thing, right? But their conscience will say they didn't vote for the Democrat. And so it will cause you to go to your house, okay? If you're a member of the House, it will cause you to go back to your house if you're a member of the Senate. So those are some things to kind of really think about. Senate is in a different shape than what the House is. But the House, because there's so many districts and it's so hard to kind of carve out and gerrymander those as much as it possibly has. Another thing I was looking at too is the North Carolina legislative body leadership. For the most part, the leadership actually comes from the western part of the state. The western part of the state is the representative body of the North Carolina leadership. And let me just fact check myself on that just to be sure that I'm right, because I saw quite a few of them. Let's go to the House. And I'll just fact check myself live on TV because it is what it is. Okay. So you got the Speaker of the House. Now he may be from Mecklenburg, but no, he's from Watauga. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, there it is. So that's in the western part of the state, right? So Watauga, Caldwell County, that's in the western part of the state. I know where Watauga is because I was up there by Lenoir, North Carolina. Remember that, tell you about looking at a television station many years ago, up that way. And so let me go back to the House and go back to the leadership of the House. So Speaker Pro Tem, Catawba County. I mean, so yeah, this is, I didn't look at this until yesterday. I think someone was telling me about it. But again, I really wasn't thinking about it at the time. And so while I was navigating through the website yesterday, I said, why in the world is the leadership within the North Carolina legislative body over and in the western part of the state? Now, this is kind of the southwestern, really more south than anything else, because he's from Lumber. I see it when I saw Robeson County. I said, okay. So that's okay. Not saying that they all got to be from Eastern North Carolina either, but at least some, right? And maybe they are as I kind of go through these. But I kind of look through some of the top names that I often hear about. Now, this thing doesn't go backwards. You got to click out, click in, click out, click in. Okay. Craven County. That's all right. So that's Eastern North Carolina for sure. So it may be a mix in there. So cool. But the top leadership positions definitely those set group of people. When I was looking at it, I'm saying, how are all these people in the western part of the state? Again, they go Cherokee and Clay and Graham and Macon County. I mean, that is as far as west you can almost get there in our state. And so then you think about some of the leadership ideologies that comes out of our General Assembly. And then you ask yourself, is it where a majority of North Carolinians kind of think about, right? And so you talk about these smaller rural communities where leadership ideology comes out of, and you've got these major metropolitan areas such as a Charlotte or a Raleigh or I don't know, a Rocky Mount Wilson metro type situation, Greensboro and all those types of areas that have the populace of the North Carolina population, but yet the leadership is garnered from the least populous communities. Some people say, well, that sounds pretty fair to me. Don't let these big old cities and towns tell you how North Carolina should be ran. But at the same time, are you really echoing? I guess you are, because you represent the same amount of people. You just represent the same amount of people from the same thought process. And that's all, that's when I get to groupthink, where you create a house of yes men, and there's no challenge in the process. And so I think that is why oftentimes you can see none-checked and none-challenged situations. So that's why it was interesting to me this morning when I was listening to the conversation surrounded by the local GOP and their major turn of events out there, electing a new assembly of folk to their prospective offices. Now they are saying, you know what, let's kind of get rid of it. Let me resign. And because this just isn't working. And then to hear maybe what some of the reason might have been, or the rationale. Of course, I read that statement that was shared on Rocky Mount Concerned Citizens, and a number of people who then commented on that about GOP. But generally, you kind of see the GOP kind of in lock and step with each other, at least the public facing view. And I don't know what happens behind closed doors and et cetera. But obviously there was, I guess, some open door, closed door type conversation that led to people in our local Nash County GOP kind of leaving their prospective post, and maybe others having some different feelings about people within it. And again, the question is going to be, what kind of impact will that be with our local GOP and their efforts to get out the vote in this year for municipal elections, and next year for the state and federal elections? The whole conversation, last year was the fractured Democratic Party and the split about not having a primary for the presidential candidate, and the fracture here and this and that. And now you're seeing that here locally. And I wonder, is that some of the situations that are occurring across this country, or at least in other parts of our state, in which they are trying to work through these situations and I think what it also shows, contrary to popular belief, is that all of us are similar thinking individuals. And so no matter how we talk about our differences, no matter how we talk about this or our ideologies, that ultimately we all have similar blood types, similar DNA strains, similar and actuality, the way our mind and body functions is the same. That's why you can go get medical treatment for things and get relief from those things, because they've been tested and tried, and this is what happens to the body. So they're able to give medication to support the growth and development or whatever it is that you're going through. Because again, we are the same. We're just indoctrinated with a different belief. And so therefore that belief then becomes a part of our life, becomes a part of our moral system and code of conduct. It becomes our ethics. And so that is what we believe, and we stand on that. Whether it's right or wrong, we're going to stand on it, because that's what we've been taught. That becomes our home norm, our societal norm, our cultural norms, or whatever other kind of sociological words you might want to use to associate with how we come to the conclusion and derive to points in which we are. So that's something to think about. I forgot to share the Facebook Live video, but again, I'm not going to be up here long. So whoever pops on this morning. Good morning, though, to William Manley. Thank you for tuning in to WNCR-TV now. I do want to say good morning to William Manley, Betty Jenkins, Maxine Simmons, Irma Maxwell, Barbara Chapman, Reginald Manning, Gwendolyn Swain, Candy Staten, James Bullock, Gloria Brake, and Allison Williams. Thank you all for tuning in to WNCR-TV now as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. Another thing that was shared this morning on the show was, and again, I was watching WHIG this morning, and it was that, one guy said, look, I don't like quitters. And so, they quit. I'm not sure if you know that the direction in which the train in which you're riding is not the direction that you want to go on, that you stay on that train. I think that speaks of common sense. I think that speaks of understanding and having personal awareness to be able to be the smarter person in the room to say, hey, y'all can go on down to Myrtle Beach, but Myrtle Beach is not my place I want to go to. And so therefore, I'm gonna get off here and I'll make my way back and go to the direction in which I believe. Again, it goes back to those cultural and societal norms that one has. And so you can't really beat up a person because they were wise enough not to stay on the train, or wise enough to get off the plane, or wise enough never to even see the thing take off and say, well, before they say all aboard, let me go ahead and get off because I know where this is going and I don't want to be a part of it because I don't want to have the fight and struggle with it. Now, again, staying on what I just heard about GOP was that the major and overarching concern or issue was that there were those in the local party who wanted mayors and school board members to be a part of the GOP executive committee. And the argument was that the sheriff automatically becomes a part of the local GOP executive committee, as well as the county commissioners automatically become a part of the GOP committee or the executive committee. And that's some voting authority and this, that, and third. And so it's all about obviously control. And so there was a facet of people, again, this is hearsay because I'm not a GOP member, not at all. And it was that there were a facet of people who were saying that local elected mayors and locally elected school board members who happen to be Republican should automatically be accepted to the GOP executive board because they do it for county commissioners and they do it for the sheriff. And I hear that argument. And at the same time, if it is a part of the Republican custom, the local GOP and maybe statewide GOP, I don't know because I'm not embedded with that organizational plan. But if they generally don't have those people on their boards, there may be some reason or rationale to it. Now, I understand without even having to think twice about how a sheriff and a county commissioner of Nash County can get up there, primarily because those are partisan elected races. And so when you run for the sheriff of Nash County or Edgecombe County, any other county in North Carolina, you're running either as a registered party. You're going to be running as an independent. You can be running as a Democrat. You can be running as a Republican. You can be running as a Constitution's party or whatever it is you want to run as. And whoever wins is who it is. And the same is true with county commissioners. Our county commissioners in Nash County are partisan-based county commissioners. You run as a Republican or a Democrat. And so I see why they would fit into that situation because it's supposed to be the camaraderie behind all of the party, all of the, I guess, the local party who would help get that county commissioner and or sheriff elected to their particular post. Meanwhile, school board races and mayor races in Nash County, I don't know if, and it could be some, but I don't know of any, they are generally nonpartisan races. You're not running as a Republican. You're not running as a Democrat. You're running as a non-party, non-partisan type individual. And so that is essentially what is going on. Now, I get it. Those individuals who are serving in those particular offices, they are registered Republicans, registered Democrats, registered Independent, or whatever they choose to be. So I get that part. But again, whatever the heartburn was, and the later discussion was, again, just airing it all out, because again, they aired it out. So I'm just regurgitating what was said this morning. And that was that there were some who believed that some mayors were in close alignment or adjournment or friendship or kinship or whatever to Alan Chesser. And if you've got a fractured Nash County that is now building up a anti-Alan Chesser situation, Representative Chesser situation, what is that going to look like in the upcoming election? And I'm just talking out loud there. most of the time you will find that partisan elected officials try to operate in a way where they are not picking winners and losers, but they're trying to figure out, well, how do we come to a consensus that everybody's happy type situation, right? And that's how they normally operate. And I'm not saying that's the best way to operate. I'm just saying that's how they normally operate. And so now, is there a different type of operation that says, no, I'm not going to, operate on a consensus type thing. I'm going to go with what I think is right. And what I think is right is that, and I don't know what his position is. I ain't talked to Alan Chester about this. But again, the issue was mayors and allegedly, let me say that, allegedly the issue was that mayors and school board members who are Republicans should automatically be on their executive committee. And so, and he said, well, look, I think that's the right thing to do. And I will say that with the North Carolina Democratic Party and our plan of organization, if they are a registered Democrat, whether in a partisan, nonpartisan race at all, they are on the executive committee for the North Carolina Democratic Party. So that is something that I am personally accustomed to, because that is the arrangement for the North Carolina Democratic Party. So there would be no argument for me as to supporting the idea that if a Republican happens to get elected as a mayor and they are automatically serving on their local executive committee, because that is what I've been accustomed to for the years, as being a registered Democrat and an active Democrat in Edgecombe County. So that's my little piece. For all I know, if there's a Republican out there that has more information they want to share, there's a number there on the bottom of your screen at 252-407-8432. That's 252-407-8432. And you can say, hey, Bronson, you got it all wrong. And guess what? I'll say, okay, because I won't dare. At the end of the day, again, I'm only delivering hearsay at this particular moment as it relates to the chain of events that led to now the longest serving GOP chairman, local chairman, to resign his post in the Nash County Republican Party. And so now they're going to have to call some special meeting and get nominations and get somebody to be put in the chairman seat. And in some, I don't know how their plan works, because in some cases you got to do it within 30 or 60 days. And so I don't know how that all unfolds, because again, I'm not into the operational standards and structure for the Republican Party. I want to say also good morning, Deborah Gunter and Barbara Smith. Thank you for tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now. And forgot to shout out John Jordan yesterday. I know he was watching yesterday. I don't know if he's watching today. But thank all of you for always tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now. But again, we did talk about earlier where the leadership is for our state. And so maybe it is kind of balanced. And I'll kind of take time one day to pinpoint all of them. Hey, caller, good morning, on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bronson.
Good morning.
No one is talking about the restaurant out at the golf course. How is it doing?
I have no earthly idea.
Okay, I haven't heard anybody talk about it. My intentions are to go out there one day, but I was just wondering, was it a wise choice for them to open out there or not? And we was talking about the 42nd Street Oyster Bar in Raleigh, and I saw someplace last week that another tenant is moving from that location. The rent must be mine over there, or the leasing. I know they're building up, so like I said, you can't even recognize downtown Raleigh. They have cleaned it up. It looks good. And like I said, I wish Rocky Mount would take up that same approach. I wish they would go in certain areas and just do a buyout. I really do. And I guarantee you, you'll see some major corporations come over here. You can't do a little bit on a house 1 year, and you can't do anything else again until 5 years afterwards on the way those grants run. But nevertheless, if they do a buyout and attack the problem, you're going to see some corporations coming over here. And I look forward to it, to be quite honest with you. because I've preached the story so many times. The things that our community need and don't have is ridiculous. And Nash County is just glorified with all the modern, all the curdy, all the everything. And like the woman said, we are the stepchild. And that needs to be the slogan. Edgecombe County, the red-headed stepchild to Nash County. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 252-407-8432. That's 252-407-8432 is the call to participate in today's conversations to talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. Let me see if they give what they are. Okay. So again, we talked about cities and towns and things of that nature. And so when you look at North Carolina, they have a county distressed rating tier. And so North Carolina has a 3-tier system. And if you're a tier 1 county, you're the most economically distressed county. Tier 2, you're less distressed. And tier 3, you got it going on. Okay. You got it going on. And so when we look at this map here of North Carolina. Good morning also to Greg Hicks. We look at this map here. This, of course, is from the North Carolina Department of Commerce. And it's going to talk about county distress tiers. And so right there, that's Nash County, where I have my little mouse hovered over. And of course, that's Edgecombe County, and then that's Wilson County, right? And so what all 3 of these little counties share, which we're in the little metro area together, is that we all are tier 1 counties. And so, and I get it, while there is more economic impact and we see things happening for structure and business locating there, until these 3 counties learn how to work together and work collaboratively, we'll never get like these blue counties here, which is, again, a tier 3 county, which is not too far. I mean, even it touches 2 of the counties, right? But because there has consistently been this them versus us type situation, we find a hard time growing. Again, you look over here in the western part of the state, I guarantee you those 3 counties right there are working together. They're working together for what's the best, the betterment of them. Same is true here. When you look at Mecklenburg, this house is going to have some feed off type situation too. Is to what is going there. But again, the lowest of the lowest, surrounded by a tier 3 community and a tier 2 right next door to Nash County. I mean, they don't have too much to be smiling about. And so until there's a collective approach on saying, how do we share resources in order that both counties grow like never before? So we have an excellence in a number of things that we can do. Again, North Carolina Department of Commerce annually ranks the 100 counties based on economic well-being and assigns each a tier designation. The tier system is incorporated in various state programs to encourage economic activity in less prosperous areas in our state. The 40 most distressed counties are designated as tier 1. The next 40 are tier 2, and the 20 are that's least distressed are tier 3. And so tier factors include the average unemployment rate, the median household income, the percent of growth in population, and the adjusted property tax base per capita. And so you'll find detailed information on tier system, currently ranking cities below. And so again, this is on the Department of Commerce website for North Carolina, as we can look and see, you know, what do we need to address? Obviously, the starting point is, how do we address the unemployment rate in our community? How do we find out or create opportunities where different income earners are living in Rocky Mount and trying to steer those jobs here in our area? Of course, you've got some coming in Edgecombe County that they're developing with the Kingsborough project and et cetera. So I mean, I think things are growing. And then when you talk about a percentage of growth in population, I think that is more or less correlates with an active participation in our census. And I'll say it, and I say it 100 times, that I don't believe that Rocky Mount has had the negative population growth as what is reported by census or that data collection. I just don't think that. I think that there was apathy in people participating in the census data collection, thusly showed a reduction in population. But again, we talk about how many houses or living quarters are now available in Rocky Mount with the deletion of very few homes. And even if those homes were abandoned, boarded up, it didn't happen overnight. And so therefore there was years of someone not living in there. So that person or persons were gone for quite some time. So the idea or the thought process, at least in my little head, is that there is a growth or at least a maintaining of consistent population, but certainly not a decline in population. And I think that thought process is backed up by new utility turn-ons of how many residential structures now have utilities in their homes. We maybe can, and not everybody have children, but we also can maybe look at children population. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other factors I think one could kind of look at and say, here's the evidence is why I believe that there is a growth in population in our communities. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bronson. How you doing?
Doing well. Hope you are.
I'm fine. Another thing is a lot of people are moving out of Rocky Mount. Not so much. They're moving back to the country if they can find a house. The rent is so high. And I mean, I've seen these houses that on my street is renting anywhere from $1,200 to $1,400 with one bathroom.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was telling somebody about your rent yesterday. I was paying $430 a month in my little apartment in Greenville. It's now $830, but it's nowhere near compared to rent we see in Rocky Mount. Absolutely.
And that's another problem. Mm-hmm. People move in, they move out. And then I have 3 families that moved over here, but they moved from upstate. They retired. I guess they older people, so they bought homes, like my sister-in-law said. These people have probably lived in apartments. If they come down here and they get a house with 2 bedrooms and a bathroom and a yard and all that, and you have lived in the city, you think you really got something. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not for us. A lot of these people is moving back home after they retire. So we got to look at that part of the picture too. And then even in buying a house now, I don't care where it is, it's high. My sister-in-law house over on over by the School Street.
Okay.
They redid, go right through there. They redid the houses, redoing them. Those rooms in those houses, because their old houses were so big, they're turning a 3-bedroom house into a 4-bedroom house now. Mm-hmm. And you can hardly get a bed in there and a dresser. Mm. But they calling it a 4-bedroom because they done took the wall out. It's beautiful. But the thing I'm saying is, it's like you getting cheated. Because I done took a wall down. And that's what people don't see. It's not so much, like my son was telling me that works at Pfizer. A lot of those people, when they get through talk like they're going to have 600 people left out there. Mm. Over 4,000 people, they laying off people every day.
Wow.
They still there right now. But you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. All them they can't fire without giving them a package. All these people, more than likely, the biggest of them own homes. People don't look at the big picture. Maybe I'm the crazy one. But, Mr. Bronson, these people are helping you at your restaurants. They're helping you in your stores.
Right.
We talked about that other week, compassion. You don't see it until it hits you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We got to stop looking at just my house. And look at everybody. I'm not just talking about Pfizer. You haven't laid off people everywhere, government, especially in D.C. Mm-hmm. A lot of these people losing their homes and stuff because you felt like I didn't need a job. Well, one time you said the people wouldn't work. Now the people want to work. Now you want to get rid of them.
That's right.
Tell me, are we backwards or what?
I've been that way for a long time.
And one more thing I want to say, and we need to really be careful about this. When I look at the news about the man from Maryland, not only him but other people that's being deported, if they can go to court and win these cases and get rid of them, what you think they're going to be able to do with us?
Absolutely.
Because they fighting that case like I don't know what. Not to bring, they probably don't even know where that man is. Mm-hmm. Dead probably. But the point I'm saying is, if it can happen to you, go back to think about what happened under Hitler. Nobody believed it could happen till it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. 252-407-8432. That's 252-407-8432. And that's what we always talk about, thinking critically, thinking long-term, thinking beyond just the lens you see right now, as to what potentially could happen here, there, and everywhere. And that's always something to, again, think about. But listen, my time is coming on. I got it like a minute before I get up out of here. Very short show this morning. And so we will be back with you on Good Friday to do it all over again right here on WNCR-TV. Good morning also to Lorraine Pitts and Jacqueline and Randolph. So yesterday there's an apartment in Little Rock for $7 a month, 3 rooms. It's just small. Yeah. Let me see. Hey, caller, good morning.
Well, Mr. Brunson, piggybacking on Miss Common Sense comment, people need to get out of this modern world. They need to reflect back on how we used to live and how we were so happy and had nothing. Now you have stuff and you're so sad. You know, my mother taught us well. I am prepared. This is why I still have a wood stove in my house. Cut the lights out. I'm going to stay warm and I'm going to be able to cook. And, you know, I know how to put water in a tub and heat it up for a bath. We got to start reflecting back on the old ways. As I always said, I'm a keeper of the old. I'm not going to forget it. And when she brought us up with this is, I believe, going to happen. And you need something to fall back on. Knowledge is the key thing in society. Learn something. Get out of these people's stores buying all this junk, going to the beauty salon, purchasing your eyebrows and your eyelashes and your false hair. Be you, who the Lord intended you to be. You ain't got nobody to impress. So I just wish our people would just reflect back on how we came up. We were happy, had nothing. Nowadays, you have the opportunity to have it, but you're so sad because you're caught up in stuff that really doesn't make sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Everybody said it because somebody yesterday told me I'm always talking to people, right? But literally, I was eating yesterday, and someone said to me, you know, I was much happier when I had less money. True story. That is what someone told me yesterday. Said they was much happier when they had less money, and then they have some. And you know, I think what happens is, when you get more money, then you start just wanting more. That greed sets in, and so you got to find that place as to where you once were, where you have it or you don't. You're still going to enjoy a life type situation, and that's a hard place for people to get, especially if they've been without for quite some time. And so it does set in some depression. It sets in some love of money. It says, well, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And it just will bring in a different state of mind for people. And so that's interesting. I would say it today. Good morning, also to Mary Helen Pelt. Thank you for tuning in to WNCR. In fact, I was talking about the GOP earlier, as it was talked about on WHIG this morning, and all that good stuff. So anyway, it's April 17th. Tomorrow is the 18th. Good Friday it is. And so schools are out, and hopefully I'll be here tomorrow and maybe right at 8 o'clock. We will talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. As always, my sign-off is to be sure to check out Pop's Diner, located 132 South Church Street, downtown Rocky Mount. Be sure to make a Facebook post. Tell your friend, tell a neighbor to go check out Pop's today. Again, open from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m., Sunday through Friday, closed on Saturdays. And so on Sundays, they have Soul Food Sunday, with the exception of this Sunday. I think by it being Easter Sunday, I think we'll be closed on Sunday. So it won't be open this Sunday, but thereafter will be open for sure. Until tomorrow, make it a great and fantastic Thursday. I tell you, this week is going by ever so quickly. And we'll see you again tomorrow to do it all over again on WNCR-TV Now, as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation.